Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Train Effective podcast. And my name is Nixon. I am your host, and today we have a very special guest because today we are joined by Siam. Yapp, how you doing, mate? You okay?
Hi everyone, how are you guys doing?
Very good. Thank you for joining. First and foremost. Now, before we get into what we're going to discuss, for you guys that may not already know, CM actually attended one of our one-day camps. Quite some time ago now. So just for you guys that haven't seen that yet, I'm just going to
I was
show
quite
that.
surprised, to be honest, about the standard of the coaches. The tips and the advice they gave was very effective. Yeah, I felt it was very high intensity. The pressure was high. It was good standard. Lots of overall drills that's in today's modern game, and I think it improved me.
Right, there you go. So that was quite some time ago now, but that was when Train Effective became familiar with your work, and they've been following your journey ever since. So let's get stuck into that. So I actually want to start right at the beginning, if that's okay with you. So, I believe you were born and raised in Thailand, if I'm not mistaken, and you started playing football when you were very young. Talk me through that. What was some of the earliest memories you have of playing football, and what was it that sparked your interest in the sport?
Yeah, so my earliest memory of playing football was, first off, I grew up in Phuket, Thailand, a small island here in Thailand, but a very developed island. It has a load of international schools and international academies, which is how I, gained my footballing experience. But then my first memory was really, at lunchtime or break time, as most kids can probably relate to, just playing, kicking about with your mates, having matches on the street or on the field at school. And that was probably started from about 5, 6, 7. And I never took it too seriously then, but then it grew from there.
Right, and hi Nick, how you doing? You okay? Just joined us now.
Yeah, good to see you guys. And
Nice
Siam,
to see you.
good to see you finally.
Yeah, very nice to see you too.
I was just listening into your whole story. So yeah, Nixon, please continue.
I will do. So, I also believe at some point you joined an academy, and I want to say this with the correct pronunciation. I'll try. So, Cruzeiro Esportes Clube, and I believe that
Yeah.
so they're a club in Brazil. And actually, for you guys
Yeah.
that may not know, he's actually owned that club is owned by Ronaldo, R9 Brazilian Ronaldo, which is quite cool. So they came over to your school and they set up an academy, right? How important was that for your development to train and learn from these Brazilian coaches at your young age?
I think that is what set me apart from a normal player, I guess you could say, and what really kickstarted my career because, Brazilian style of football is a really, that they're well known for what they do on the field. And for them to have Brazilian coaches come over to see, the world of football through them, for them to teach their style of play and everything, it really did open my eye up to another world of football, especially here in Thailand, where the football is good, but it's not to the level of Brazil or Europe. And then for that to bring their playing style here and their knowledge and their philosophy it was great to be under their coaching. Yeah.
So they taught you in a way of which they would also want to teach kids in Brazil, and so you'd say that was the philosophy they brought over. Would you say that is still something that is a part of your game today?
Yeah, 100%. My playing style definitely reflects the more Brazilian style of play. And also, I feel like some coaches that train effective could also probably support me on that, as when I played back in Hemel. But yeah.
Hey,
okay, that's great.
Can I hop in there and say, like Siam, I've been in Phuket twice the last 12 months. So for everyone who's listening, Phuket, Thailand, it's a beautiful destination, man. People just Google like Phuket and you'll see it in Google Images. Like it's beautiful place. And I think there's a lot of people from places like this in Asia, and they're like looking to do the same route as you've done, looking to do the same thing. And it's like, well, what do you do? Because you're in Asia, somewhere like Phuket is not necessarily known for for football or sports in general for producing professional athletes. But now you're at the stage that you are, like, what did you do? Because I've been to Phuket. Like Phuket, man, it's yeah. I mean, I don't see people playing football. I know football is popular in Thailand, but I don't see people running around playing football everywhere. So I'm like, to see the skill level that you got now and where you've gone, like what besides the academy in Brazil, the Brazilian coaches, sorry, like what else were you doing when you were younger to really get to the standard you got to?
So yeah, if we bring it back to when I was playing football at school on the playground, or just with my mates, the coaches noticed that, and I think the teachers also noticed that I had a gifted sort of talent. I always had that natural ability. I wasn't perfect. I wasn't an amazing player, but when I was young, I always had like that natural sporting, athletic ability. Not just with football, with the other sports I did when I was younger. But especially when I joined Cruzeiro, I think I'm very thankful for Cruzeiro, because if they went on Phuket, I don't know much else that would have brought me, such like good footballing education. But because of them, I went abroad many times at such a young age. Ever since I joined them at 11 or 12, we were traveling internationally for tournaments. That really did enhance my game, because you see different parts of the world, you mature more from traveling, seeing different types of football, playing against different type of players, different type of age groups, and then also when I went away, when they sent me away for trials, and also to play with the actual team in Brazil when I played in Portugal. I feel like all this did gain a large amount of experience for me and enhance my footballing ability.
Let's say before the age of 18, okay, how much and you before the age of 18, and you like have all your football experience, all your time training, all your time playing, all that kind of stuff, how much did you actually do in Thailand versus abroad?
I would say all my training and all my preparation and most of my playing was done in Thailand. So let's say about 75% in Thailand, and then the rest of it was abroad.
Okay, and of that, like of that 75% that you did in Thailand, how much of that was you doing stuff like alone or without a team versus with a team?
So to give you like a perspective of the schedule that I was doing with Cruzeiro,
Yeah.
we would train an hour in the morning, 2 times a week, Tuesday and Thursday, and then we'll train 2 hours every afternoon, Monday to Saturday. So that's about, six times in the afternoon, 2 times in the morning. So that's 8 times a week training.
Oh, Monday
So you
to
can
Saturday, every afternoon.
Yeah.
Okay, got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's 8 times a week. It was quite a lot of training, but then I also did a lot of stuff on my own. I always was in the gym the other mornings. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I was in the gym on my own. And then also I'll stay after sometimes in the afternoon to hit the gym or do some agility or finishing work. I always had that sort of like motivation and urge to do more on my own.
Yeah, because I was going to say, like, and I think a lot of players are in these shoes where actually, I know there are definitely some players listening and they are training with a team like 4 to 8 times a week. And a lot of players go, yeah, that's enough for me. Like, my parents have said I shouldn't do more, or the coach has said, look, take it easy. I don't want you to get injured. These kind of things. And I think, how many players were in that team of yours?
It was quite a large group of us. There was under 12 to the whole way up, the whole way up to under 18s. So there was about, let's say, 180 to 100 players.
Okay, so let's say 100 players, and you're obviously one of the ones that have stood out and gone beyond the standard. But do you think for most out of that 100, most players are, well, they just didn't get to that next level?
I would say from Cruzeiro, there's about 2 or 3 players that I know that have reached a very, very high level. But besides that, a lot have chosen to go off to college or university in the US, or they just play football, for fun, or they did it as like as an exercise or something along those lines. But yeah.
Got you. So like even all of you guys were training like 8 times a week, but it's still only that handful that make it to the next level. So
yeah,
like, do you think you doing that stuff at the gym, doing your stuff at on your own, like helped you kind of separate yourself from the others in your team, which were sort of just doing what was told by the coach?
100%. 100%.
In
Not
what
only
way?
did it give me, I think, by training more, it gives you more confidence, because if you know you're putting in more work than anyone else, they have no reason to be better than you. So you should you get what you put in, really. And then also I remember at the time I was about 12 or 13, more like 13, 14. And then that's when the coach let me train with the senior team, the under 18s. And I remember I wasn't the biggest guy, I was quite small, but then by hitting the gym and getting bigger, it gave me much more confidence as a person, but also on the field. And everything I did, gave me much more confidence.
Yeah, I feel like for every player that's like trying to make that step up to the next level, they always need something that gives them that edge or that confidence that, I'm I'm better than the others here because I've worked on this, or I'm physically stronger, or I've got a better shot than everyone else because I've worked on it repeatedly at home or whatever it is. So do you think for you is that physicality part which separated you?
I think it's a mixture of everything, all the speed, agility, cone work I did, or the technical work I did, the gym work. I try to, mix up everything. I wasn't trying to get big in the gym. I was just trying to get strong, really. And then, do whatever's best for my game, really. And I feel like by, combining everything that I did and really looking into it and trying to improve every aspect, it did make me a lot better, and it gave me a lot more confidence, which is what I think is very important in football.
Okay. One of Siam's keys right there. Major key.
And so, sorry, just for context. So you said that you were doing the Monday to Saturday evening, and then you had the 2 morning training sessions as well. How old were you at that time, as well as doing the individual work that you were doing? How old were you at that time when you were doing those training sessions?
So 13, yeah. I started
13.
when I was 13, and I went the whole way through to about 17 with Cruzeiro. Yeah.
That's so from early on, putting in the hard graft, putting in the hours, and training hard. So you said that from the academy, you then got the opportunity to go abroad and play abroad as well. How did that come about? Where was some clubs that you went abroad to play for during that time?
Yeah. So at Cruzeiro, we obviously played tournaments nearly everywhere in the world, really. Portugal, Spain, Brazil, Indonesia, Malaysia, China, a lot of places in the world. So my first experience of getting to play in a club abroad is when Cruzeiro in Phuket actually went away to Cruzeiro in Brazil as like an international, coming together sort of tournament. I played there when I was 13 in Belo Horizonte in Brazil. And then that's when the official team in Brazil saw me play and invited me and one other player from the under 14 age group to play for their under 14 for the official team in Brazil.
So at 14 years old, and you went over to Brazil. How long were you there in Brazil?
We were there for 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks.
2 weeks. And so, you obviously grew up in Thailand. I'm presuming you didn't speak Portuguese. You might have. No. I might be wrong. So you didn't speak Portuguese. So as a 14-year-old, sorry, how old are you? You said, sorry, 14?
I was 14, around 13, 14 at the time. Yeah.
13, 14 years old, don't speak the language. It's a culturally completely different place. Talk me through that experience. Obviously, there was everything to do with the football, but also what was it like? Was there a shock to the system for you to be out there for 2 to 3 weeks without the people that you know around you and in a whole new country? What was that like?
To be honest, at the time, I didn't think too much, probably because I was a little young. But I remember my parents especially were, worried because of the safety in Brazil. It's very far away. It took about 2 days to get there. 48 hours of flying, really. When I was there, I didn't worry too much because I was surrounded by, guys doing the same thing, playing football and sleeping. That's basically what we were doing. That's all we wanted to do. But I remember when it took we're about a week in, and that's when I started missing home. Calling my mom and dad every day, and then missing the food. The food's different. The air's different. The weather's different, and you weren't allowed anywhere else besides from the hotel and the football field. So it's a different life, and it was a different environment.
And so through the connections that you had at Cruzeiro, I believe you also had a chance to also go to Sporting Lisbon in Portugal, and you had some time to train there. How did that come about, and how was that process of training with Sporting?
Yeah, so after I went back from my experience in Brazil, I think it was about a few months, and then I said to the coaches, I'm about 14 now, and if I want to make it professional, I think it's better I go abroad than stay in Thailand. To where he linked me with his friend and his agent, who's in Portugal. He was my agent at the time, and he linked me with Sporting Lisbon. And I went and had a trial with them for about 2 weeks when I was 14, and I went back again when I was 15. And then it was a successful trial. Trained with them for 2 weeks. The coach really liked me. The only problem then was my passport and my age, because I wasn't Portuguese, of course. I was only 14. And it was a successful trial, and they invited me back the next year.
And so
I was going to say, I don't get some agents and these, some trials where like some very good players will go over to Portugal or to places where like they can't actually play there because of their visa or their passport. They literally can't. Like if you have for every let's give an example here. For every like American player that's under the age of say 18 that wants to go play in Europe, like it's very difficult. It's almost impossible unless I think there are a few countries which allow it. But guys, if you just look at FIFA rules, and you're a minor, which means you're under the age of 18, like it's very hard to play like without a European passport in Europe. So and so I don't get it. Like when agents and people that connect people, they say, I'm going to get you a trial at Sporting Lisbon, and then you're good enough, but you actually legally like can't play in the team.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering your experience. Like, how did you make it work?
So I didn't sign officially with Sporting. I got accepted from my trial, and they always tried to sign me when I reached 16. So at the time, because I'm English, I have an English passport. England was the UK was still in still considered European.
Yeah.
This was prior to Brexit. So at the time I was hoping to sign at 16, which is why I went back when I was 15 the year after, and was still training with the squad. And then Brexit happened, and then that pushed my age back. As I'm not European anymore, it pushed my age back from 16 to 18, to where it was like, oh, we don't know if we can wait another 2 years until I sign with the club in Portugal. And bear in mind, I was still at Cruzeiro training every day. I was just going back to Sporting whenever I had like a school holiday, or whenever it was a break or pre-season, mid-season. Yeah.
And how difficult was that in that moment for you? Because, so many players want to get trials at clubs like Sporting. Once they get there, so many of them will try their best and hope to be accepted and be brought in. You obviously did those two things, but then you couldn't go in because of something that was completely out of your hands. So what was that like, and how were you feeling at the moment at which you were told, sorry, we can't take you on because of this?
Yeah, I remember when I was told that I made it, but I couldn't sign because due to my age. I remember that being very annoying, because I was like, all I wanted to do was be there, be in the system, be with them, be at one of the biggest clubs in Portugal, Ronaldo's youth club. And then I remember the year after, when I found out that I couldn't sign because of all these rules and stuff that are just out of my control. I remember breaking down in my bedroom, thinking that everything was over. And I had no chance to go to Europe because of, you know, stuff that I can't control. But I got over it pretty quickly, because, you know, I have a very supportive family. I got a lot of good people around me. You know, they made me come to realize that there is other options. There's always another option, and if you want it bad enough, you'll get it.
And Nixon, just before you go, so already at this point, your age, what, 16, 17?
When I found out about sporting, 15.
15. Okay. So already you've gone through this process of because football is a roller coaster. The story you're sharing, I've heard hundreds of times, literally. So for everyone that's on this journey, and you want to be a footballer, or you want to make it something big in life, you want to be something big. It's a roller coaster, and you never know where the journey will take you. And already at 15, you've had everything from homesickness, which is real. I've gone through that myself, and it's very hard. Which I wanted to ask how you got over that, and we'll get to it. You've gone through the homesickness. You've gone through the roller coaster ride of already where am I going to be? Where am I going to live? What club am I going to be at? Is football even going to be a career for me because of how my passport works? And I got school that's finishing up, and I need were your parents also hey, focus on getting good grades in school and education? Or
well, one of the benefits of being at Cruzeiro, it was tied and joined with the British National School in Phuket, which is where I did IGCSEs, and also there's an IB program there.
Okay.
So I was always quite safe in terms of education. You know, I wouldn't be able to play football if I didn't attain, you know, a realistic grades at school, which is, I think I got the best of both worlds, if you could say. So I'm extremely grateful for that. But then it was always okay, if there's a realistic journey with football, I'm going to go for football.
Okay. All right. So this is a moment where a lot of players are thinking about with their education and football and everything. So you did GCSEs, which for people who don't know what GCSEs are, it's when you do secondary school in the UK, it's your grades. It's your I don't know, guys, help me out.
It's basically so it's the tests that come at the age of 16, and then from 16 to 18 in the UK you do something which is called A levels. But yeah, essentially GCSEs, when you get to 16, those are the exams that you do at 16 to evaluate where you can go next, etc.
Right, exactly. So if you get good GCSEs, then good A levels, and then you can go to a good university. And so you're saying did you do A levels or did you do IB?
So I did a year and a half of IB when I was at the British National School, but then I left to do trials in Portugal, and then I went to the UK after, to where I joined you guys. And then during that period of me traveling, I did online A levels. I took a business A levels.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah.
And you did a year and a half of IB, as in when you're in your final 2 years of school?
It was my final 2 years, so I only had about a year left.
Wow. Because if you've already gone that far in the program, it's you're almost done.
Yeah.
Man, that is sacrifice. Okay. IB, for anyone that doesn't know, it's International Baccalaureate. So they have this a lot of pretty much every international school has a IB program, and it's pretty intensive. I didn't do it myself because I wanted to do it. It's really tough, guys. I know many people when I was 15, they'd come play football every day, football every afternoon, every day. And then as soon as they got to IB, you didn't see them anymore. They're just in the library. So yeah, okay. But respect to you. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, also as well, I'd like to just say that I feel with a lot of people that want to make it pro and have aspirations to do well in football, when it gets to that age of sort of 15, 16, they either choose the path of, right, I'm either going to go the route of university or education, or I'm going to go the route of football. And actually, you talk to a lot of people and actually find that actually they didn't have to pick one. They went with both. They put time aside for both, And when it got to the critical moment, then they decided, right, I'm going to go this way, I'm going to go that way. If you take the case of Axel Tuanzebe, a Manchester United player, he grew up at the academy there. You know, he aced all of his grades, but he still was prominent in the Man United academy. He still captained the side from a very young age. So yeah, you don't always have to pick, and if you put your mind to it, I guess you can do both.
But just on this, because like I think so many players are in school watching this, and I feel like we've all been there with this crossroads where you have to choose one or the other. And like I know a lot of friends with this IB thing that's so intense that at 15, 16, they're like, yeah, it's either I'm going to play football or it's nothing. And then they just go all in on the IB because that's what they need to choose in their head. But actually, no, it's totally like you can actually do both. It's really hard. Like you have to Siam, you have to tell how you have to tell the audience like how you actually manage your time.
Yeah.
Because let's just get to that next. Sorry, Nixon, I'm butting in, but I think it's this could be great content for people listening.
Yeah.
But like you can do both. And I think the way I've always looked at this is you got 168 hours in a week. So 24 hours times 7, 168. And 68 hours a week you're sleeping and resting and commuting and whatever. Like you have 100 hours a week to do whatever you want to do. And I reckon you can get pretty good, decent grades with like, look, if you're really focused and you didn't have your phone next to you and you're actually paying attention in class and like you actually did deep work, no distractions, like you can get really decent grades with maybe 30 hours a week of actual pure like focus.
100%.
Which leaves you with 70 hours. Guys, for everyone listening, think about if you're in school, think about how much time you waste like daydreaming in class. Like when you're doing your homework, you got your phone next to you and like someone sends something on Snapchat and then you can actually get good grades and actually succeed with, I reckon, like if you just use 40% of your time that you would otherwise spend in school, but you actually focus, you'd get the same results. Anyway,
no, yeah, I agree 100%. I remember coming to a realization at the end of my GCSEs that if I focused, it was a 1 hour class. If I focused 100% for that 1 hour, I didn't actually need to do any homework at home. I didn't need to do any extra revision. It was enough what they taught in class. And if I listened 100% of the times, I would have the rest of the time free or training my football. 100%. I agree with you.
Yeah. See, like these are big winning mentality hacks, guys. Like I'll show you one more. I remember I'd be in some classes and I just wouldn't learn much in the class. I just couldn't. I don't know. The teacher just wasn't doing it for me. Like I knew I could learn what that teacher was saying in 10 minutes in a YouTube video rather than like a 2 hour or 1 hour lecture. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to use this time and I want to improve my tactical brain in football. So I literally, don't tell the teacher this, but like I put the phone in the pencil case. So like it was hidden from view. And I watch all this like a football analysis and stuff and just like, I'd like have my notebook out, but I was actually looking at my pencil case and taking notes about the football game, about where someone was running and off the ball movements and things like that. Use every hour, every minute of the day productively, guys, and you'll be amazed with how far you can go.
Yeah, and on that as well, as a footballer, you train, you play matches, your body needs time to recover. And so, it's how you choose to spend that time when your body's resting and recovering. How do you use that time? Whether it's studying, whether it's tactical analysis, and it's how you use that time to be productive, essentially. Just going back to what we were speaking about earlier, and firstly, like, really, really good on you for bouncing back from that, because I can imagine how crushing that would have been. But during your time at Sporting, obviously Sporting, like you say, one of the most successful clubs in Portugal and constantly in the Champions League, etc. Was there anything that while you were there, you were like, right, I can see this, I can see that, and I can see that. That is why this club is an elite club. This is what they're doing different to other places that I've seen. Was there anything like that caught your eye that they do differently?
100%. I realized, I remember it was quite a hostile environment. Actually, the first time I walked into the changing rooms, because you know you got to view it as competition when you're a professional player. I walked in, no one was friendly to me, no one said hello. It's my sport or it's your sport, and that was their mentality. So you know, I took it on my chin. I walked in, found my own spot, and then I did the talking on the football field. And then another thing I realized is when I was on the football field, everyone trains 100% every day, 200% every day. It's every ball is life or death. And then I'll say the third thing I picked up is when you're in the gym or you know when you're in the locker room, no phones. They don't touch their phones. There's rules there in place. No phones. It's fully focused. You know, 30 minutes to an hour before you get on the field, and in the gyms, no phone at all. I remember getting told off because I actually brought my phone into the gym once, and then it's small little habits and that you just get into, and after that it's natural. Yeah.
And where was this, Siam? Which club was this?
This was at Sporting.
Sporting. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, there you go. Super competitive then, because as well, I'm guessing sort of at a young age, you know, everyone's really trying to fight to make it through. Whereas obviously when you get a little bit more senior and you go into a team, perhaps some of the guys are already playing at clubs, and so it's more like we're coming together. Whereas in an academy, it's like, right, that guy's coming, he might take my spot. I can't be, you know, too friendly.
Exactly.
I need to be competitive, and that's sort of, you got to take it as healthy competition, don't you? You can't take, it's not personal. It's just a matter of, you know, you're all trying to achieve the same dream, I guess.
But why was the phone such a big deal? Like no phones. So would you say no phones in the gym? No phones in the changing?
In the locker rooms, you allow on your phone, but it wasn't like you know, if the coach comes in, if it's like 30 minutes before or an hour before, or if you had a meeting or something, no phones. I remember seeing it on the walls at, you know, of the facilities that just said no phones in the gym, no phones here, no phones there. And especially in the gym, I understand in the gym, you know, you're there to get your work done. You're not there to lay around and be scrolling on your phone. And, you know, I was shocked when I got told off about it the first time I was there. But I see why. I kind of understand why.
Yeah, just like full concentration. You're here to do this work. It's not a walk. It shouldn't be a walk in the park. Be concentrated. Focus on your reps. Yeah. Okay. Got it.
That's also something obviously you'll definitely realize as well, even at the very, very top level. And even like sometimes when I've seen post-match game and they're in their dressing rooms and they're all sat on their phones, and then sometimes that sort of surprised me, because I was a bit like just surprised at the fact that you've just gone out and won a Premier League game and then you've come back and sat on your phone. But yeah, I guess that's the way it is. So you then end up training in the UK, right? So I believe it was with Exeter and Wycombe Wanderers.
Yeah.
You trained with. So yeah, talk me through that process, that journey. And was there anything about the English game, you know, which stood out to you in comparison to other places you'd played?
Yeah. So actually, before I went over to England, it was when I went from Bangkok to Portugal again. So this is my second trip to Portugal, and I went to a club called Estero Praia, which they won the Portuguese under-23 league 2 years in a row. I was 17 at the time. Yeah, I was 17 at the time. And I went to a trial with them for 2 weeks directly from Bangkok. Another successful trial. It was really good. It was quite hard this time. I would say this was actually harder than Sporting because everyone was more physically built. It was older, more competition. The players were actually better than when I remember before. And it was the top of the league. And it was a successful trial. And then once again, when I was waiting for an answer from Estoril, whether I made it or whether they can support me until I'm 18 to where I could sign, I went over to the UK. And then the first club was actually Hemel first, and then I went to Exeter.
And how was that journey of in England, playing in Exeter, in the training sessions? What were they like? Was there anything you picked out in the playing style or the aggressiveness or anything like that was different to Portugal or to Brazil or to Thailand?
Yeah, so especially when I was with Hemel, I went to Train Effective, the 1 day camp with Train Effective, and then that's when Hemel was like, "Oh, you can train with us," to where I trained with them for I think it was about a week, or if not 2. And then where I played the FA Cup game. No, it wasn't an FA Cup game. I played a friendly game. played a friendly game against one of the teams nearby. And then that's when I realized, everyone's technically decent in the UK. But then one side that I really realized was the physicality. If they're going to hit someone, they're going to go straight through you. And that's one thing I realized while playing in the UK. It wasn't as the biggest difference I realized from England to Portugal was more technical, whereas England's a combination of both.
Yeah, actually, what you were saying about when your time at Estoril is that we were speaking to Simon on the last pod, and he was basically talking about something which is called mortgage football. And it's basically the concept of you're playing in an academy, you're playing with technical players, good talented players, don't get me wrong, but they're playing to prove how they play, they're skillful, they're technically good. When you play against quote unquote men and you're in a league where there's pay bonuses for every win, for if you score a goal, there's pay bonuses. These are games where there is a lot riding on each and every game for these footballers, for that grown men that have mortgages to pay. That's why it's called mortgage football, that have bills to pay. And so when you go to that level of football, you realize, obviously the aggressiveness because of how much they want it, but also like I said, they're grown men. It's much more physical. It's tough like that. And so I guess that's where you say sort of like the in between being technical but also intense and physical as well. So that makes sense. And so after your time in England, you then return to Thailand, I believe, right? And that's when you start playing for Police Tero. But during your time there, you are told about the Bayern Munich World Squad, and you're told to apply. So for our audience members that may not already know, can you please just explain what is the Bayern Munich World Squad and how that came about for you?
Yeah. So I remember being at a national team camp here in Thailand. I was playing with the U19 Thai national team. And then one of my teammates from the year before, who was training with me, he went the year before to the Bayern Munich World Squad. And from what I've saw and from what, all the news articles and the press said about it, it was such a great experience and such a great opportunity, especially for a player from Thailand, to where he told me about it at the camp. And then I obviously signed up for it, sent in my CV, sent in my highlights, to where at the camp, I actually got a reply straight away from Bayern for a one-on-one meeting.
And so talk me through how you were feeling in that moment. So firstly, I believe they wanted to interview you and there was a bit of a process before you actually got in. So how are you feeling throughout that? But also, how are you then feeling the moment when they told you you're in and we want you to come over?
Yeah. So I remember them telling me on the first interview that the reason they're speaking to me is they're down to the last 100 or so applicants from 2,000 to 3,000 applicants. So first off, I was like, oh, I got down to the final 100. Let's see where this goes. And they said they'll contact me again if I'm in the selected players. And basically what they were saying to me on the call was they were just trying to find out more about me, more about my playing style, where I've been, my experience. And then it was only about a week later, they contacted me back saying, we're choosing you as our player from Thailand. And I remember being over the moon. Yeah.
And so they sort of based who they took onto this team in terms of your CV or you as a character, or what do you think was the basis of which they chose the selected few players that got to go in?
So from what I know with Bayern, they have a very big scouting team. And obviously with highlights and with CVs, it's very hard to, choose to see the what's it called? See it transparently. Is that the word? To see it transparently, the actual player, not just from highlights or a CV, but then from you interviewing the player, they asked about what clubs you've been at, if the clubs are good enough, and along those lines. And obviously, I was with the under-19 national team, so I think that gave them quite a good gist of the player I was. So
you then get excited. You then get accepted in. And you're obviously absolutely over the moon, just as anyone would be. So then you go there and you're then training with players from just about everywhere in the world. And as well as that, you're working with some seriously like top coaches. So how good was that experience for you as a player in terms of being coached by the coaches that were there, but also with playing from players from all over the world?
I think I remember the Bayern Munich World Squad last year as one of my best footballing experiences. To be honest, it's definitely number one or number two up there. Not just because of the experience, but the coaches were incredible. The way I played there was good. I was satisfied with my performance, and then also the things I learned, the connections I made with Bayern was just unreal.
Are you still connected with any of the players or the coaches to this day now?
Yeah. So the good thing about Bayern is I'm actually going back this year to another World Squad this year, as I've been invited back. And the good thing about Bayern is they do update calls every month to monitor the players, to check the status, to see how they're doing with the footballing career, and just to make sure they're healthy and stuff, which is very, very good from them, I feel.
Yeah, and I think we spoke about this in a different podcast, but like there's a massive importance on networking when you're in scenarios like that. Meet players and like-minded individuals who are on the same journey as you, and from them you can learn, from them you can gain access to other opportunities that you might not already know of. So yeah, I think networking and especially in a scenario like that for you at the Bayern Munich World Squad is really important. So talk to me about then the moment you walk out at the Allianz Arena. There is 20,000 people in the stadium, 40,000 eyes on you. What was that like?
I remember walking out for first it was the first team training, open training. And I remember sitting as one of the fans in the stands and looking around and thinking, the amount of people here are crazy. And this was the biggest stadium I've ever played in. The roof comes hanging over the top. The field's perfect. The atmosphere is crazy. It's loud. Everyone's passionate. And then, thinking and knowing that I was going to be playing there within 20, 30 minutes was surreal, really. And then the moment I stepped on the field, it's a different feeling being on the field and being in the stands. Because when you're in the field, there's a sense of aloneness, but then there's a sense that everyone's watching you. And it was like sort of like if you've been to a concert or something, it was just crazy. Yeah.
Were you nervous? Were you scared?
I feel like there was a lot of adrenaline going through me, to be honest, at the time. I think I had a pinch of nerves, but I was just there to play football.
I have a good question for you. Like, if you're playing in a stadium where there's tens of thousands of people versus playing in a field where maybe there's 50 people watching, like, which situation do you feel like you play better?
For me, 100%, in a field with no one.
Really?
But then you have to realize that that's part of being a professional player. And that's what I've realized now that I am a professional player. You have to perform when whoever's watching or whenever.
So you think, so when you are stepping on the field with thousands of people there, what do you feel that that makes you say you prefer the smaller crowd? What makes you say that?
Having eyes on you definitely brings pressure. Not only pressure to perform, but maybe expectations or how they'll judge you, or it makes the atmosphere more surreal. So with all the noise, with the cheering, every tackle is a scream here, a scream there, or how the atmosphere is in in the Premier League. The fans, the trolling, all of that. It's what the fans bring, but it could affect you positively, or it could affect you negatively. And for me, it doesn't do either. But it's just, if I had a preference, I would choose.
Yeah, right. Interesting. Because so many players have this dream of like, I want to play in front of 50,000 people or 60,000 people at the Emirates, and I want that big atmosphere, and then that's what I'm living. That's what I live for that opportunity, that moment, and then okay, I can see some players are like, okay, no, I just want to play football. Like, it doesn't matter who's watching. I just want to play.
No, but 100%. If I got to choose, if you say where I play better, I'd probably say on a field with no one. But if I had a choice between 50,000 people watching me or on a field, I'd definitely choose 50,000 any day, just to make the atmosphere and everything better.
Yeah, and it's good content,
Yeah. So it's crazy. It's a different feeling. I've never felt it before. Yeah, but it was nice.
But that's also where the experience kicks in, and that's where obviously, like, when people talk about, oh, this player's had this much experience and he's, we might go for him because he's got that experience. It's that kind of stuff that often makes a difference. You could have two players and, well, one is technically better and he's more talented and overall his game is better, but the other one has played more at the top level, or he's played in front of, like you say, 20,000 people, and that all comes with getting used to it and eradicating those nerves that come with the fact that there's all these eyes looking at you. So the fact that you've already got that experience once is massive. And like you say, you're going back, so you'll build that even more. And that's another thing that our scout, Simon, was touching on, that, you play academy football, there's no one watching. You go to even the lowest leagues of England, there's at least 4,000 or 5,000 people in the stadium. So how can you cope with that?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's definitely with experience and comes with time. So then after that experience, you're returning back to Thailand. You're playing your regular football. We were speaking before the pod, and you were telling me about how you've been out on loan. So yeah, talk us through that time right now and how this season is going for you.
Yeah. So since I joined Police Tero, the mid-table, now we're doing actually in the top. We're in the top 8 of the T1 Premier League. So it's quite a good team, a very good team in Thailand here, a very well-known team. And I was playing, I was on the bench almost every game. I was never left out in the team list, but I played 10 minutes a game, 20 minutes a game if I'm lucky, depending on how the game goes. If they need an attacking player to, strengthen up the attack. But then for me as a young player, I felt that wasn't enough. I always wanted to play 90 minutes every game. I want to be the one scoring the goals. I want to be the one, deciding the game. And for me, the only way to do that at the time was to go find a club that will play me 90 minutes every game. To where I am now, Bangkok FC. I've only been here for a few games. I've played more minutes than I have back at Police Tero, but still waiting to see the rest of the season and how it goes.
And what's that even just conversation like? So, you're at Police Tero and they're doing well and it's a good club to be at, of course it is, but you want to be playing more. And so how do you go about setting that out, and who do you speak to, and what was that process like?
Yeah, so definitely I spoke to the coach directly first, just to ask him for his opinion, for what he's thinking, if he's going to use me or not. If he's not, is it all right if I go away? Because at the end of the day, it's the coach's permission, it's the club's permission if I can go on loan. I'm under contract with them for 3.5 years. So I need to speak to them first. And then also you have to find a team. So I have an agent. He has to help me find a team that's suitable for me, for my playing style. If they're going to give me minutes, if they're a team that is reputable, and yeah, that's the discussion we have. Really, it took about 2-3 weeks of like a serious discussion, but at the end of the day, yeah, it goes through.
Do you think, like, for any player that's listening and they're on the bench or not getting a full 90 minutes and they don't know what to do, maybe they want to leave the team, or like, what do you think they should do? Do you think the first thing they should do is just go talk straight to the one-on-one to their coach?
Yeah, I remember, I think it can be such small things sometimes. Sometimes if you just change a little part of your game or your attitude or your, a mistake that you keep repeating and make, if you just change it a little bit, it could put you into the first 11. It's really a discussion that you need to have with the coach, and you have to be honest with the coach, and the coach has to be honest with you, or else nothing's going to change your situation. And especially around my age, 17, 18, from what I've heard and what I've known from speaking to, a lot of people with experience, they told me that this is the most important years of your life. It determines of your footballing career, really. It determines whether, you'll make it to the next stage or you need to play, really. So it goes wherever. It doesn't matter if you're at the biggest club. If you don't play, it doesn't benefit you. You have to go where you play. Yeah.
And are the coaches always honest. So, say if it's the beginning of the season and the coach needs to have however many players in his squad because he just needs the numbers in case. Have you gone to your coach before the season starts and said, "Hey, coach, what are your plans for me this season? Am I going to be starting? Am I going to be on the bench?" And do you find that they're always honest, or are they sometimes looking out for their own interests rather than yours?
Yeah, that's a hard question because I didn't have many conversations with my coach. I sort of left it to last resort to where I'm like, all right, I'm not playing. I really have to do something about this. And then I spoke to him. Because I was always in the team list. I was always, getting 10 minutes, 20 minutes. And I understood, it was my first year in professional football. But if you ask me the question, if coaches are always honest, it's hard because, they're human as well and they have a lot to manage. I understand that. But then you have to, as a player, you have to find, your best interest has to be in yourself because it's a business at the end of the day. They'll play who they want, and if they're not playing you, it's like hard luck. You got to go find somewhere that they'll play you. So you always got to, respect yourself before anyone.
Yeah, you do have to look out for yourself. It can at times be quite a harsh sport and business, if you like. So like you say, yeah, you do have to look out for your best interests in the same way the coach might sometimes look out for their own best interests. So you're on loan now, and this is a two-parted question. I'll come to the first part now. What are some of your short-term and long-term goals? So short-term maybe this season, long-term in a few years' time. What are some goals that you've set out for yourself going forward?
I've actually thought about this quite a lot recently. My short-term goals are, to establish myself more within Thai football. So if I have a chance to play, I want to be scoring goals. I want to make assists. And a lot of that's down to just working hard and training every day and proving to, whoever I have to prove to that I should be on the field over whoever my competition is. So establishing myself with goals and stats and assists just to prove myself. And then my long-term goals is obviously to go back to Europe, to where I've always dreamt of playing, where I always felt more comfortable playing because of the playing style, because of the mentality, the people there. I think I get along with better on the football field than over here. And hopefully sign with a good club over in Europe and start playing there again.
Right, and then the second part of the question that I wanted to come to is because I've heard that you've said that you've got some belief and confidence in Thai football as a whole, and so you believe that it can go to places perhaps it hasn't been so far. Talk me through that a little bit and maybe give our audience a little bit of context with that.
Yeah, so a lot of what I've seen here in Thailand is the players are, they might not be physically the best. They're physically not bad, but they're not the best. But especially technically and with their mentality and hard work, they can go far, a lot, very, very far. Because to be honest, if you compare English players to Thai players at youth level, there's not much difference technically. I'll say the only difference there does become is the physicality because of being English and being Thai. But then you see a lot of players now recently in recent years playing Japan, which is technically incredible. The speed of tempo of play is very high, and Japan's a very high level of football. I feel like Thailand has so much potential in terms of the players that can actually go abroad if they did bring a better infrastructure into Thai football, or better youth academies, or support in that sort of sense.
Okay, so going off that, I'm not sure about this, but have Thailand been to the World Cup before?
No, not the men's, but the women's have.
Right. Okay. So let's say you're 26 years old, right? And Thailand have just qualified to go into the first World Cup. Meanwhile, you could also play for England at the World Cup. And you're obviously half English, half Thai. What side would you pick in that scenario?
Obviously, that's sort of like a fairy tale question, because if I could just pick without any without any factors involved, then I would obviously pick England, because it's playing with the best players in the world. But then if you had to be realistic and, who I've played for before, played for Thailand, under 15 level, under 16 level, and also under 19 level. It's a question. It's a very hard question just to put my finger on.
I know the question. What if you're like on the bench for England? Like, you'll be a bench player because, I don't know, Rashford is on fire. He continues his form the next 5 years, 10 years. And so you have to, you're going to be in the bench, or you're going to be a star for Thailand. You're going to play 90 minutes every game. You're like Ronaldo for Thailand.
I'll play for Thailand.
Okay.
100%.
I love that.
100%.
Hey, listen, we'll be rooting for Thailand, and if they get
100%,
through, we'll be cheering for you guys, man. I wish you all the best in that.
You never know. Never know.
Yeah, man. Yeah, of course. So I'm going to show our audience one video before I move on to the next question, which I have. So I'll show them now.
Yeah, I'll try to take 1 day off a week, just, let the body rest. I feel that's important. I would have a combination of technical work, strength work, and teamwork. And then in my own individual time, I'll do technical work with the ball, but then also in the gym, strength work specific to football, movements, upper body strength, lower body strength, reduce the risk of injury.
Okay, so that was when you were at the Train Effective camp at Hemel, like you say, and so that we've briefly spoken about your routine when you were just even 14 years old, and even that in itself sounded very busy and it was hard. Is your talk me through your week, and when is the rest days, when are the strength work? Talk me through that.
Yeah, so it was still there.
Oh, he's cut. He's cut. Something happened on the Wi-Fi. But go on.
All right, yeah. So if I talk you through my week, it would be Monday morning. I'll be in the gym doing strength training on my own. This wasn't a team training. It was just something I chose to do on my own. Monday morning. Monday afternoon would be 2 hours in the afternoon with the team. Tuesday morning would be football specific movements with the team. Tuesday morning. Tuesday afternoon would be another team session out on the field. Wednesday morning would be me doing another session on my own in the gym, strength work. Wednesday out on the field again. Wednesday afternoon out on the field. Thursday morning, strength, football specific, in the gym with the team. Thursday afternoon on the field again. Friday morning, I'd be in the gym again on my own. I wouldn't go so heavy on a Friday as we normally play a match on Saturday. And then Friday afternoon, normally just a calmer day. And then Saturday on the field again, normally a match. Yeah.
And so it's such a busy, like I just said there, it's such a busy week schedule there, and obviously constant football and training. How do you personally switch off? What are some things that you do to take your mind away? Do you have other hobbies that you take up, and how do you sort of escape sometimes from football if need be?
Yeah, I remember at this time in my life, it was very full on. I'd go home and I wouldn't have any time. I'd eat and then I'd hit the bed and it would just be asleep. And the next thing I know, I'd be up in the morning training again. It was very, very hard to manage, especially with school, because straight after training, I'd get about 20 minutes. I have to be in class. And then it was like that until after school, I'd get about 45 an hour, and then it was back on the field. So it was full on, but then we had every some of Saturday and all of Sunday off. So that was my really, you could say, rest time. But then besides that, I don't know how I really managed, to be honest. It was always just, it's quite a blur thinking about it now. I feel like I could say a lot of it was, football was like a stress reliever with school, because every time I was in class, I remember I just want to play football. And I never really got tired of it. Obviously, you'll be tired after the match or during training, but that's all you want to do, really, especially with the friends I was with and all the other players I was with. That's all they wanted to do too. And I remember, at school, all we would talk about is how we're going to play this weekend on the match, or how we're going to combine to score this goal, or what tournament we're going to win. And it was always, how hopeful and youthful kids are when they think about football. It's all they want to do. But then now I do get quite tired.
I was also going to say, what you've described in this podcast, I think everyone listening will touch upon, like, it's a real, like, can be real roller coaster journey. There's lots of ups and downs. You're never guaranteed anything. You have lots of difficult conversations with coaches, with what your future will be. Nothing's ever certain. And when you're talking about your days at school, it seems like life was the way you put it, life maybe was an easier time because all you're talking about with your mates is when you're going to play football next and all this kind of stuff. Now it's a profession for you. Football's your profession. Do you still have the same, like, joy and passion now as compared to when you were a kid?
Yeah, definitely, because I don't think I would pursue football if I wasn't so sure that I enjoy it. I've always wanted to do something, I always wanted my job to be something I enjoy, and I'm very lucky to be able to play football as my profession. I would say that there's more on the line now when you play. It's much more serious. A mistake can, it means something if you do make a mistake, and that's being a professional footballer. There's a lot that comes with it, not just from what's inside the club, from the coach or from the president of the club, but also from the fans, for the team, for the whole, what happens behind the scenes. There's so much more that means something behind the scenes. And that's the reality of football. It could be, I would say, the pressure and the pressure is much more than when you're in youth football. But it's always, it's always fun to train. It's still football at the end of the day.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Is there like a number one thing you'd suggest to everyone to, like, because okay, everything's like, there's pressure, that you got weight on your shoulders. Like, what's the one thing that you do that just de-stresses a situation?
Yeah, I think especially if you're going to be a football player, you need to be strong mentally, because as you said, Nick, footballer's life is a roller coaster, and in every bad situation, you must persevere. And I think perseverance is the most important thing.
Yeah, okay, like, this is tried and true. Like, we have Rio Ferdinand on the mentality course app. He'll say that every episode. But what Rio also said, I don't know if this was filmed, but when we're talking, me, Rio, and the team, when we're filming, he'd also be like, he'd actually go out some nights and have a really big night, because that's the way he could just, like, de-stress from the situation. But, like, I think these traits where, the mentality, hard work, this is all like tried and tested. Like, you got to have this mindset. You're not going to succeed, basically.
Yeah.
At the same time, some of the most successful players or people have their thing that just allows them to totally switch off. Like,
100%. I see what you mean now. Because all football players are human at the end of the day. I do spend quite a lot of time going out with my mates. If it's just to a mall, or if we're chilling at someone's house playing FIFA, having dinner together, having lunch together, I still do all that stuff. I do it a few times a week, actually. If it's straight directly from training with some of my teammates, or if it's just at home, playing, I don't know, Fortnite or Call of Duty online or something. But I still do that all the time, and that helps me take my mind off football, because sometimes if I have a bad training, it does stress me out quite a lot. It stays on my head, and it does affect your well-being. But then when you have another hobby or activity that you can do, and it completely flips your mind off football, it's so much better.
It's so important, dude. Like, because again, it's a roller coaster. It never ends. You're always on the roller coaster, and you got to have something every day or every week to just, like, forget about everything, because when there's so much challenge, when it's not like you're gonna have a good training every training. So when you do have your bad ones, then it's important. Like, what's my thing to forget about what's happened? So you got to have that. Otherwise, you're going to burn out. Otherwise, it's like, oh, okay, I don't like this anymore. It's like, you got to reset. You got to have a reset. Reset is so important. I was just in the sauna on the weekend, guys. I love the sauna. Anyway, that's my thing. Some people like meditation. Some people like Fortnite. Some people like going on a long walk. Sauna, it's great. and that mall in Bangkok, Terminal 21, great mall. I'll have to join you
Yeah,
there. Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
I actually like another one a bit more, but
Which one's that?
you know, Siam Paragon.
Yes.
It's quite a big one. It's a very nice mall.
Okay, it's on my list.
Terminal 21 is great though.
So yeah, there you guys. There you go. There you go, guys. Shopping mall.
Yeah.
It's funny as well that you say about the Fortnite gaming, because like even like some players, right? I'm talking at the very, very top level, yeah. Like you got Neymar, who we know he bangs out Fortnite. He loves a bit of Fortnite. Liverpool is
streams.
so yeah, he streams, yeah, and he's like decent. Like Diogo Jota, for example, of Liverpool, is like a serious FIFA competitor and like wins and actually has won tournaments. And even the other day I saw him with Casemiro, and I just thought Casemiro is the last guy that I would think would be a gamer or just someone that would spend his free time gaming, but it has become a very prominent like thing to do in people's lives. And obviously for footballers, it is a great way to spend your time recovering because you're relaxed and you're sitting down and doing whatever you're doing, but also, like you say, it's a great way of sort of taking your mind off real life and football and just de-stressing, as you say.
You gotta on that point, because most people listening love to game. Like on that point, I have heard some things where some players will stay up until 2 or 3 a.m. the night before a game, just playing, like just gaming, and then not knowing that that'll affect their performance. So apparently I was reading an article the other day, like in the NBA, this actually is quite common, where the players are traveling all the time, staying in hotels, and they'll game, and they'll just game late, and then they have no idea that it'll affect their performance the next day. So a lot of like sports scientists and whatever the physio people, not physios, what am I saying? Coaches and whatever staff, backroom staff are in these teams are like really pushing that, like, guys, night before the game, like you got to stop at this time, otherwise your performance is going to dip at this time when you play in the evening the next day, and then like things like that. So I feel like Dele Alli played too much Fortnite. Look what happened. Like, no,
it's all about balance,
limit, right? Limit.
Yeah. It's all about balance, isn't it? Because even if you train too much, which is something that is associated to being a good thing, even if you train too much, you're going to tire out your muscles and there's going to be problems.
Overtraining is not a good thing.
Yeah, so I feel like in everything there's got to be a good amount of balance. No, you shouldn't stay up to 2-3 a.m. playing games, but also a little bit in a day is fine.
Balance at that high performance. It's like you have to work hard. You also have to rest hard. But you also can't go too hard on both.
Rio Ferdinand went a bit hard every now and then, going out clubbing, and I've actually heard some stories about Man United players from a little bit more back in the day when they weren't so strict, about like players that at very, very top level, like going out and drinking and all this and that. It's something you don't really see nowadays, but yeah. So going back, go on, Nick.
No, I was gonna say, like, these days that's just replaced by like gaming and stuff they do online. The metaverse, man.
Yeah, exactly. So going back to your journey then, and we touched on some difficult moments earlier on, but what would you say can you even pinpoint one main difficult moment throughout your career that you've had to overcome?
Yeah, I feel like it was the moments that I heard from the clubs in Portugal that I couldn't stay or I couldn't sign straight away. Especially at such a young age, I didn't understand everything completely. I was always very single-minded towards I have to go. It's now or never. And at the time, it was the end of the road for me. That's what I thought anyway. I remember crying and it being on my head for days and days and weeks, because I thought like, I'm never going to be able to get back to go to Europe. But then, if you look now 3 years down the line, Bayern invited me to go play in Europe, and they did again this year. And that's another opportunity that I must look forward to. But that was definitely the hardest time for me, because even though you did make it, it feels like a loss. It feels like,
I think it's almost tougher mentally, the fact that you did go, the fact that you did put energy into it, the fact that they said yes. And then obviously for it not to happen mentally, it might have even been easier for that not to happen. But at the same time, you wouldn't be who you are now if that didn't happen. You wouldn't perhaps be as mentally strong if you didn't have to face that. And so obviously you're still very young yourself, only 18 years old. But let's say you could go back and you could talk to yourself at 13, 14 years old. Would you change anything? Are there any regrets throughout your journey? And would you give your 13-year-old self any advice that you could think of from to up to this point now?
That's a hard question, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll change much. I'll probably tell myself to chill out a little bit. I took everything a bit too seriously, especially with football. You know, I remember I'd get mad too easily at the smallest things on the field. I just always wanted to win, even if it was playing with like kids, or a game didn't matter. I'm just like, I must win. So yeah, definitely chill out a little bit and not stress so much. But I feel like, but I also think now without that, I don't know if I would been so, you know, single-minded. I have to get to the top. There's, you know, positive and negatives to everything, but yeah.
Yeah, I'd say with that, it's like, you know, I guess you could say you have tunnel vision towards your goal, and
Yeah.
it in one sense that's great because it helps you sort of you're more determined, you're doing the extra work and the extra bits to achieve your goal, but then also, like you say, chill out and also have fun a little bit. But there's a load of players out there that, you know, have had tunnel vision and did make it right to the top, and they're doing just like even Ronaldo, for example. He had super tunnel vision from very young. And another one, which I don't know if a lot of people know of, is Joao Cancelo, who obviously was Man City, is Bayern Munich now. He's someone who all of his teammates have said he's very intense. He takes everything very serious, and in training sessions, he takes everything to heart. So, yeah, I guess it's sort of down to each individual. Then going off that, and this will be that last sort of proper question that I asked from you today. One piece of advice. Again, you're very young and there's going to be lots of things that you'll learn as well. But from this point in your career, one piece of advice to give to any aspiring footballer that is watching this right now.
Yeah, I feel like the best advice I can give is no matter what situation you're in, what the future looks like, what your past is to give 100% in terms of to yourself and to everything that you do every day. Because from my career, I can tell that things turned out very differently in a good way to what I expected them to be. So perseverance, what Rio Ferdinand says, always persevere, because on the flip side of everything, there's always a good thing. And it's also when things are going good, you also have to work hard so things don't go bad again. And it's always about giving 100%, working hard, but then also having a good balance, just persevering. I think that's the best thing I can say, really.
Well, there you have it, guys. Perseverance and sort of a never die attitude, and when things knock you down, be able to get up and go again. Nick, just before I go on to the last question, any last questions or bits from yourself?
No, the only bit I would say is like, look, man, I think you are a role model for all the Train Effective community. The lessons that you learn at such an early age, I think, just serves as inspiration for everyone that's watching. You already learned the lessons, which I think will just make you go far in football, in life, and in everything that you do. And I'm just I feel blessed that we could be able to talk to you today, and know that the future is gonna be like, I'm really excited for the future for you, man. So
thank you very much.
Yeah, and the whole Train Effective community too. I think when this gets shared to more people, I think they'll just see, okay, wow, he's got his head screwed on, he's motivated, I need to be like him.
Yeah.
No,
that was great. Thank you very much.
No, I think he's spot on. We'll all be rooting for you, and hopefully everything goes well. So, last question then, light-hearted one, should be easy, but let's see.
Yeah.
Messi or Ronaldo? Who are you picking?
That's so easy, Ronaldo.
Oh yeah, okay.
Any day of the week.
Any
Ronnie's the
reason why?
goat.
Any reason why?
I looked up to him when I was, ever since I was little. I remember like he's just a goat. He's just too good.
That's
He's too
relatable.
good. Yeah.
You know what, as well? I feel like his story is one that is very special because
Yeah.
he wasn't necessarily the most naturally gifted growing up, and he didn't have all the talents that maybe Messi more naturally has. I guess you could say. I think it's clear to say Ronaldo has put in the hard work. But there you go, guys. So Siam picks Ronaldo. We'll see who our next week's or future guests say.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, that is the end of the pod. Siam, thank you very much for joining today. It's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you guys very much for having me.
Of course. Guys, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe on the YouTube channel. Lots more pods and content coming. If you're on Spotify, make sure to follow. And if you haven't already, then check out the socials in the description below. And until next time, thank you very much.